There's plenty of investment opportunities out there. If I'm putting the top 5 on the board, air doesn't even make the top 5.
Hey everyone, welcome to our Traded Black podcast. We've been in Miami this week at the Benzinga Cannabis Conference speaking to the biggest executives in the space. So today's podcast, we wanted to break down right now pertaining to a story that we did about last week with our lead financial writer, Benjamin A. Smith, pertaining to where these current companies are at, the debt that's obviously going to be due later this year, and when it matures, as we break down company by company. So we want to share some of the feedback and conversations that we've had over the last couple days at the conference and keep you updated. And based off of that, let's bring in our lead financial writer, Benjamin A. Smith, who did this story last week titled Cannabis MSOs 2023 Debt Cliff Concerns Overblown. Most debt matures in 2024 and beyond. Ben, good to see you. And obviously some interesting conversations we're having this week so far.
Yeah, the article turned out to be one of the better ones that I've done in recent times. A lot of interest on social media accounts for this one. So I'm glad I undertook this project, and it was quite provide a lot of information about what's on the books for a lot of these companies.
Yeah, Anthony, we are in your backyard. I can understand why you live in this area this time of year. Beautiful weather, good Masters weekend. How's the golf game and how's life?
It's good. It's good. It's pumped to have this conference underway and see really put our fingers on the pulse of what's going on in the cannabis industry right now, because I think it's a lot of unknown.
Yeah.
A
lot of education here, and that's why I want to dive in deep. So, Ben, you're going to lead the way based on basically current debt positions and when the bulk of that debt matures for each company. So let's look at the top 5 MSOs right now on paper. I should say the largest MSOs. I don't know if I guess you can be pretty transparent or widespread when you say the term top 5. But I want to begin with Cresco Labs. What is their current debt position, and when is the bulk of that debt matured? And as we go through this, it's just to give, obviously, our viewers an idea as to what we can see and transpire with the next few months.
Yeah, Cresco Labs has one of the cleanest debt tables from what I could tell. They do have a senior secured term loan that they, I believe that they initiated that in 2021. It's for $400 million, but that doesn't mature until August 12th, 2026. So they have a full 3 years plus in order to pay that, make that principal payment of $400 million.
So what's your take? Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, not to be snarky, but 2026 sounds great, but I wouldn't doubt Schumer and the gang taking till then or longer to get anything passed. So we'll see. Time horizon's great.
Well,
but,
I'm just going to add, since you said that, at the very least, we're going to have a big shot on goal with HHS Secretary Becerra, who's definitely going to make a ruling on the scheduling of cannabis. Whether it stays at Schedule 1, whether the DEA takes that up, I don't know, but at least we're going to have a big shot on goal before that maturity date happens.
Okay, so let's have an analysis at the end, safe or unsafe. Would you guys classify Cresco as safe for now, Ben?
Safe for now? Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely, especially paired with the markets that they're in.
Yeah. Okay, let's discuss next Curaleaf, which draws a lot of attention and interest from retail investors. What is their current debt position? And again, when is the bulk of that maturing, Ben?
Yeah, a fairly clean debt table here as well. They do have a $475 million 8% senior secured note, but that's not due until December 2026. So they got 3.5 years before that has to be paid off, assuming it doesn't get pushed back further. Some smaller debts that mature before that include the Bloom notes, which $50 million come due both this year and 2024 in January, and then $60 million become due in January 2025. So I assume that the debt of $50 million Bloom notes in January 23 has come due. We don't know yet because the new filings haven't come out, but if it's on schedule, then one of those debt payments, the one for June 2023, has already been paid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm agreeing. I'm in full agreement with Ben. I mean, especially on the thesis of Curaleaf is actually focused on profitability, and they're one of the few that's close to annualizing over $1 billion in revenue a year.
So the analysis, safe from both of you, overwhelming, needless to say, right?
In the near term,
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
Yeah, I would say near
No
term.
worries.
Near term, they're safe.
Okay. Shift now to GTI, which you indicated last week at our podcast, Ben, is really in the best position of all the biggest MSOs. Maybe we can explain further with you, Anthony, after the recap. But first, again, what is their current debt position, and when is the bulk of that debt matured?
Yeah, from looking at the financials, like Cresco, they only have one big debt maturity, and that is $217 million due of April 30, 2021 notes, and those aren't due until April 2025. Originally, it was a 3-year term. They were supposed to be due in April 2023. April 2024, but Green Thumb actually pushed that back for 1 year to maturity till 2025. So they now have about 2 years until that maturity comes due.
Anthony,
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GTI is my favorite. I mean, like I said, I could sleep easy having money in GTI if I owned it.
Okay, so interesting note, and to what Ben outlined, and that's the reason why you're sleeping easy and why it's your favorite.
Yeah, yeah, and I trust the management team. I mean, I trust that they're going to make decisions that are in the best fiduciary, in the best fiduciary interest of the company.
Yep. Okay, so the next one. This is an interesting one. Trulieve. Everybody knows built an incredible model in Florida, but since the Harvest acquisition, many investors have questions, especially knowing that Harvest assets are not performing. So, Ben, first off, what is their current debt position, and when is the bulk of that maturing?
Yeah, among the big four cannabis companies, MSOs, this was the one with probably the widest debt table. They have various maturities due on various dates. For example, the biggest one, $350 million of 2026 notes, was done in 2 tranches, one for $350 million and one for $75 million. And both of those are due on October 6, 2026. So they still have 3.5 years from today before those come due. They also have smaller notes due, for example, $70 million June notes, $60 million in November notes, and both of those are due on June 11th, about a year and a bit from now. And they also have $71.5 million in promissory notes from the VNB swap, but those aren't due until January 1st, 2028. So you can see a lot of different debts are coming due at different times, but the big one would be October 6, 2026.
What's the big takeaway that you take from this company, Anthony?
I'd say that they're in the middle. I wouldn't say that they're safe. I wouldn't say that they're unsafe, just because of their pole position in Florida and the amount of cash that's going to throw off potentially going into adult use, which, I mean, I don't like to bet on potentials. But, yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of debt. They've got a lot of convoluted debt. And, I mean, I don't think it's something that I personally wouldn't bet on with my money compared to the peers.
You've talked actually in previous podcasts about how a lot of these West Coast brands enter into the Florida market. Do they benefit or do they get hurt? Because obviously they have their own brand, which is not going to be great for the actual company. But how do they embrace that when these brands actually enter into the market?
I'm curious to see. I mean, Trulieve's brand sucks, to be honest. I mean, it's very sanitary. I mean, that's a function of the medical market that they're operating in. But at the same time, like, I mean, I hate to go back to, like, giving Brady kudos, but I haven't seen Florida cannabis companies build a brand or a retail brand first, then sell to consumers second. You look at okay, so Move, I think, is a sophisticated brand. They've got some good things moving, but again, it's very one-dimensional. You couldn't really tell me what Move stands for. They sell good cannabis. That's pretty much it. AYR or Air with the Liberty acquisition, same thing. You've got the Flowery that's tried to bring in a Florida cannabis company and an East Coast brand. The Flowery also brought in 710 Labs from the West Coast into Florida, which I thought was genius. So they're bringing in an established brand. Jungle Boys, Cookies. I mean, those are internationally recognized brands that are coming into the space. But in this market right now, all that matters is that you have cannabis on your shelf and it's ready for someone to pick up that day. Trulieve has the massive retail footprint.
Yep.
They have product that's readily available, and it sells. I'm very curious to see how that translates longevity-wise with these entrants coming in. Jungle Boy's dispensary on Collins Avenue in South Beach just opened up this week. So, I mean, they're coming. These guys are coming online. The brand wars are starting. And Trulieve, I would say, from a branding perspective, is behind the 8 ball.
Now, a couple points on Trulieve. There's some news came out this week. I think the signatures that have been verified to get recreational cannabis on the ballot for 2024 November, they're about 70% done. So, barring some sort of injunction by a federal court, not allowing it, technicality, whatever the case may be, recreational cannabis should be on the ballot because the advocate groups have gotten their shit together and they're going to be early this time, as opposed to they tried to get on the ballot last election cycle and they were a little bit too late to the party, couldn't get enough verified, didn't get on the ballot. So truly,
don't be surprised though. DeSantis does not like cannabis.
He doesn't, really?
No. DeSantis does not like cannabis. So I know that they've got their shit together. We have momentum. Very curious to see. I'm hoping that he gets on the fucking campaign trail for the presidency and just gets sidetracked and just forgets about it. And then it passes in Florida. But if Rec passes in Florida, I mean, Trulieve is granted, if they have the product and they have the capacity, they're going to multiply. The revenue is going to increase at a multiple rate.
Okay. Before we get into the last one or two companies, what we're doing today, if Governor DeSantis were able to embrace cannabis, do you think that would help or hurt his presidential nomination?
I don't
Like,
think
this
he's going
guy's
to be
all
nominated. I don't even think he. Ultimately, I don't think he's going to run.
First of all, I think Ben's right. I mean, from a
You don't think he's going to run?
I don't think he's going to run.
So me personally, like, I'm kind of like a political junkie. I wouldn't, just basing off the fact that DeSantis is still very young. Get the hell out of Trump's way. Let the circus, like we said on the last episode, it's like a child. If they're having a tantrum, let them kick, scream, and they will eventually run out of energy.
Yeah.
Trump.
How old is DeSantis?
Is
he in his 50s?
No, he's like early 40s.
Wow.
DeSantis is pretty young, but I mean, you let the Trump circus run out.
Wait 4 years,
Trump,
and then you get endorsed.
Trump's not going to be around in 2028. If our government's still around in 2028, at the rate that we're going now. So
another good point.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I don't think he's going to run. I think the other side wants him to run because they want him to split the vote with Trump. So I think he's going to figure this out at some point. Someone's going to tell him, okay, you know what? This is Trump's thing for now. You're still young. You'll have another opportunity. I don't think he'll end up actually running, personally.
Okay. He's 44, by the way. So yeah, he's
44 years old. Wow.
He's early 40s. He's got plenty of time.
Okay, so last two companies, we were going to do 5, I want to do 6. So let's talk about Air Wellness, which on paper right now appears to be the most vulnerable one, outlining their numbers when we look at them, Ben. Maybe references to like why many people feel that they're vulnerable right now. What's their current debt position, and when is the bulk of that debt maturing?
Yeah, the debt position that I have is about $225 million. I know there's some numbers being bandied about that it's closer to $400 million in the current loan obligations. So they could be slightly understated on this chart, but but they have a lot of debt due coming out in 2024, unlike the Crescos and Curaleafs, which are more long dated in 2026. For example, a $133 million private placement of secured notes, and that's due December 2024. They have a loan agreement, $26 million due May 1st, 2024. The GSD agreement, September 15th, 2024. So you can see a lot of stuff is coming in the pipeline next year unless it gets extended, and that's what has some people worried. And again, some of this on this chart could have been understated from their true debt liability. Yeah,
interesting. And like I said with Matt Hawkins last week, everybody's at stake here right now. There's even a few MSOs that are vulnerable. So, safe or unsafe, Anthony, what's your takeaway?
I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. Just the amount of debt. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the MSOs that falls and gets picked up by private equity or another player for pennies on the dollar with distressed assets. I
Yeah.
heard the CEO in a Spaces a couple weeks ago. I didn't believe anything he was selling. I didn't think that he sounded like he had a fundamental understanding of the business or really even the balance sheet or the way the company was financially engineered. There's, like we've said, there's plenty of investment opportunities out there. If I'm putting the top 5 on the board, Air doesn't even make the top 5,
Wow.
especially with the opacity around their current debt position. So yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I would say unsafe and avoid it.
I believe Jen Drake also left as a senior officer this week. She's no longer there,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure the reasons beyond that. But
Wow.
they're losing some of their senior leadership right now. It appears.
Forgot to ask you guys, safe or unsafe, Trulieve?
I'm gonna have to go with safe, just based on the fact that it is the 800-pound gorilla in Florida. That's arguably the biggest market in the states potentially once it goes adult use. Yeah, their assets aren't really working in the harvest acquisition. However, they are in keystone markets such as Arizona and such as key markets in the Northeast. I don't think they're going anywhere. I'd say safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last
I'm gonna
one,
go with
Brant.
Safe too.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go with safe too. I'd be a little bit more concerned if the recreational cannabis does not get approved on the ballot in 2024, and maybe you want to look into that a little bit more. But for now, safe.
Okay. Last one, Verano. Current debt position and when that matures.
Yeah, so their debt table is a little extended as well. The main debt that they have is a $350 million of 2022 credit agreement notes, but those aren't due until October 30th, 2026. So they got 3.5 years before that debt matures. They have some smaller notes on the books as well: Chicago Atlantic mortgage loan, community bank loan, which interestingly does not become mature until July 2047. And yes, that is not a typo. It's they have
47?
July 2047 according to the filing. So that's not a typo. And then they have a couple of smaller ones due October 31st, 2024 for $19 million and $20 million due March 2028. So a lot
Right.
of their debt matures, significant debt is long dated.
Okay. Based off that information, Anthony, safe or unsafe?
I'd say Verano's safe.
Okay.
I've spoken to the guy to the management team. I mean, they're all pretty high-powered businessmen outside of cannabis. I think Verano was built the right way. I mean, there are markets that I like, and if I've been impressed by any brand coming into Florida from a retail standpoint as well as a product standpoint, it's Move. Their dispensaries are immaculate. They look very, very nice. Their product is awesome. I think they're doing a great job.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm with Anthony. I'm in the safe category, especially now because most of their debt is long dated. So it's nothing to worry about. There's no debt cliff in the short term.
Okay. Well, this was fun, getting some great information. We will have more information pertaining to the conference on our podcast later this week on some of the biggest news and trends that we're obviously hearing down in Miami while we're here. But let us know if there's any information that you want to learn more of. We'll actually quickly review it, and we'll get these questions over to some of the executives that we're currently speaking with this week at Benzenga. Gents, I still can't believe you said that. 2047. What does cannabis look like in 2047? Bold prediction. What do you think, Anthony? It's only 25 years away.
2047?
2047. Are we still talking about safe banking potentially passing?
If I had to guess, 2047, cannabis is fully some sort of evolved vape product that you're not smoking flower anymore. It's just, I don't know. It's still around.
Ben, 2047. What does cannabis look like?
Well, if Chuck Sooner is still in office, then perhaps we're at the status quo. But assuming that there's a big turnover, a generation or two in Congress, I think cannabis will be legalized fully at that point. It will be descheduled completely, like alcohol, so it won't even be on the schedule list, and we'll have a normalized market once a younger generation gets into Congress and has more sensible policy.
Actually, I'll take it a step further. There is no cannabis anymore in 2047. Neurolink is taken over, and via the Neurolink, they can actually induce the feelings of euphoria and being high via brain stimulation. So there's no more need for outside substances.
Are you going to put a chip in your brain? Because I'm not.
I would right now. I would right now.
Categorically say I'm not putting a chip in my brain.
Oh no, I would do it right now if I could.
Oh, you
Yeah,
would?
think of the
100%.
why not? Think of the amount of money
Are you kidding?
you'd make.
If I could enable it to where I could learn things and pick up things like you actually saw in like the Matrix, or
Yeah.
like turbocharge like cognition, I 100% would do it.
Not a bad way of looking at it. I'm with
No.
you. If I
would
could
do it
have
in
an
a second.
advantage over the average human or a select few groups of like doing that, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I know
okay,
I know where
Ben.
Ben's going. He thinks it's just going to lead to like mind control, but which
Well,
is
if you can
possible.
upload to your brain, maybe, I'm a little skeptical of that kind of stuff. I'll stick to like ChatGPT and, open source stuff. But,
Ben is moving to Guam.
Hey, with CBDCs and with everything that's rolling out, Guam might be Guam might not be
hot
bad.
spot.
it might not be
Yeah.
a bad place. Yeah.
Well, remember we were in Palm Springs last October, Ben? We ran into some gentleman in the elevator going up, and he's told me his son is now operating big cannabis farm in Guam,
Oh,
of
yeah.
all places.
I do remember that. Yeah. That was a very interesting story. Yeah. Cannabis
Yeah.
is
Probably
pretty
not
big
a
down
bad
there.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. He told me about the Mariana Trench, 37,000 feet, not far from the actual island. And he cruises by it, from time to time in his sailboat. And I just got shivers. Imagine going over a body of water that's 37,000 feet. A little gnarly to say the
Well,
least.
I saw a documentary very quickly that they have this like metal ball and they simulate the pressure of what is feeling in the Mariana Trench that far
Oh,
below.
I think I
And
saw
a
that.
steel ball turns into a marble, and it's like this goes in and turns into a marble coming out. So the pressures are unbelievable, and yet there are creatures down there like some alien looking
Yeah.
like amoeba and stuff like that survive.
Were they at the very, I don't know if they were at the very, very bottom, though.
Oh,
but-
there's like tube worms. There's tube worms that are at the bottom of Mariana's Trench.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well,
there's stuff that somehow survives down there.
When James Cameron went down by himself, I saw how Rolex sponsored it, and they put 2 Rolexes outside
Yeah.
of the device that he went down, but I didn't see an update on the watches when they actually came back up. I could be wrong. Maybe I missed it, but needless to say, it got to be
Have you
pretty
ever
brave to go
seen-
down 37,000 feet
Have
by
you seen
yourself.
those? Have you ever seen one of those watches in person? The model they actually did it with?
No.
It's
What are
called
they
the
like?
Sea. It's called the Sea Dweller, and the
Okay.
case on the thing is about this thick. It looks stupid to wear, but people actually wear them. It's called
So
the
if
Sea
you
Dweller.
drove, if you drove over that with like a vehicle, like would it crack at all?
If you drove over with this watch, if you drove over it, these watches are bulletproof.
Wow.
Like, they could be sitting in a burning building. They can go in X amount of water. You could run it over. You could blow it up. They're very durable. That one, however, is it's like 2.5 times the thickness,
Wow.
and there's gas inside, so it keeps pressure.
Well, these cannabis stocks get turned around. Maybe we can get a couple Rolexes. What do you think? We'll go Rolex shopping. We'll get them to sponsor a segment for the day. We'll have Rolexes and smoke weed at a dispensary.
The
Yeah.
adult use has to pass for that.
Investors
Yeah,
got to
true.
keep the faith here. That's all I'm going to say. I know it's tough. Let's see what happens with Secretary Becerra.
Yeah.
I don't even care about SAFE anymore. Really, I think that's minor. I think, I'm focused on what Becerra does and whether the DA takes that recommendation if it's a positive one.
Well, this has been good. I hope our viewers have a better idea as to like what the current debt positions are for each and individual company, and what we think of like how things are, whether safe or unsafe for the next couple of months, especially the next 6 to 9 months. But this has been good. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will obviously have more information as we learn here at the Benzinga conference.
Look forward to it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. And if you want to learn more about the emerging industries that we cover, then leave a comment below and let us know who you want us to interview, the questions you want asked, and the information that you want to learn. We want to hear from you. As usual, click on that bell for all notifications to get the latest information. Share this video with your network, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.